Have you ever dreamed of building your own computer but didn't have the money for it? For example, I've always dreamed of building my own PC and eventually I did. But that's not what I'm talking about. I mean that before I could afford to build a high-end PC, I wanted so badly to build one myself that I ended up building a computer for just $11. And the craziest part, it could actually run quite a few games, including GTA 5, CSGO at the time, and other relatively undemanding online and older games. But the real question isn't what this computer was capable of. It's how I managed to build a working PC for the cost of a single meal. There were no tricks involved, just determination. And when you have the will, the impossible becomes possible. Today, I'm gonna tell you exactly how I did. Let's get started. When I was about 15, I was in my first year of college. A lot of people ask me, why are you in college at 15? Well, in my country, that's completely normal, so please stop asking. So when I was 15, I had this strong urge to get something more powerful because my old laptop was so weak that I hated it. I hit it, threw it around, and nearly broke it, but somehow it survived and still works to this day, though I haven't turned it on in 2 years. At that point, I set myself a goal. By the end of the year, I was going to buy myself a computer or a laptop because I really wanted to play games. But I also knew one thing for sure. If I got another laptop, I just run into the same problems I had before. I wasn't about to make the same mistake twice, so I decided to start saving up for a PC. But I had two big problems. The first, which wasn't that small, was that I had no idea how I was going to do it. How would I choose the parts? How would I even put it together with my own hands? Everything seemed complicated at first. The second problem was that I had no clue where to get the money. I was unemployed. And let's be real, who's going to hire a 15 years old? But I figured it out pretty quickly. First, let me tell you how I solved the financial problem, because the process of building the PC is way more interesting, and I'd rather save the best part for later. As soon as I realized I was broke, I immediately started looking for ways to make money online. I asked on forums, posted on a social media platform similar to Reddit in my country, and watched YouTubers who at the time I thought knew what they were talking about when it came to making money online. And after trying every method, I made exactly nothing. So I gave up on online earnings and decided to make money in real life, either by selling something or asking my parents for money. At first, all I could sell were small things like cables, old headphones, and other random junk, making around $20 in total. I put that money in a piggy bank specifically for my PC build. I knew exactly what I was saving for, but every now and then the thought crossed my mind, what if I could somehow multiply this money? Of course, I could just keep working and waiting until I had enough, which was the logical thing to do. But that sounded boring and I wanted to take a risk, something that would make my money grow on its own while I kept working, so I'd have two income streams and reach my goal faster. To do that, I had three options: invest in a business or stocks, gamble, which obviously doesn't work, or buy something cheap and resell it for a higher price. And guess what I picked? The third option. Sure, business and investing are great, but they take time to learn. Gambling was just a dumb idea. Even 12 years old me knew that only the casino owners make money. The third option, though unclear, at least gave me a chance to get my money back or even make a profit while gaining some experience. So I decided to buy a computer, or rather build one for $20 and resell it for a higher price. Then I'd use that money to build another PC and sell it for even more. At first, the idea seemed completely insane. I thought it was impossible, that I'd only be able to put together some office junk that would just sit there collecting dust. But this plan actually solved two main problems at once. What happened next was completely unexpected. The computer I built turned out to be way more powerful than I had imagined. And now let me tell you exactly how it happened. As soon as I realized my budget was extremely limited, I didn't even bother looking at stores that sold new parts. Instead, I went straight to a site that specialized in used items, basically the equivalent of Facebook Marketplace. I set the filter to show the cheapest PC components available. I was looking for either really weak components or pre-built PCs being sold for next to nothing so I could salvage the parts I needed and buy the rest separately. I was even hoping to find something for free, if there were any generous people out there. The challenge still seemed doable. After a long search, I couldn't find any pre-built PCs, so I had to buy all the parts individually and put them together myself. It wasn't easy, but I managed. Here's what I ended up with. a Gigabyte GA945 GCM C2C motherboard, a completely useless motherboard even back then, built on the ancient 945 chipset. In 2019, you could find tons of this on the used market for the price of a half-little bottle of soda because they were practically worthless. Even Xeon server processors, which were popular in budget builds at the time, weren't compatible with it. So why did I buy it? Well, I had no money, so I had no other choice. I haggled a bit and got it for around $2.92, even though the seller originally listed it for $4.09. Keep in mind, I'm converting these prices for my local currency to dollars for convenience. An Intel Pentium E5500, a dual-core 2-thread processors running at 2.8 GHz, which I later overclocked to 3.5 GHz in a BIOS. I got this from the same guy who sold me the motherboard. He turned out to be a nice guy and just gave me the processors for free. On the market, this CPU was either free or worth a max of 50 cents. So cheap it wouldn't even cover a bus fare. Back then, people were turning these CPUs into keychains, and today you could probably use one as a table wedge to keep it from wobbling. But since I was doing this challenge, I took the free processor. For cooling, I attached a stock cooler that I got from my friend's old PC, which he no longer needed. The cooler was old, dusty, and had broken mounting clips, but I fixed it in 5 minutes and secured it to the motherboard with a plastic zip tie. Next up was the RAM, which was surprisingly the hardest part to find. Even the cheapest listings were too expensive for my budget. On the 4th day, I found someone selling two 2GB DDR sticks, 800 MHz for a decent price. This was actually the most expensive part of the build. I got them for $4.68. The GPU was a GT 9500 with 5012 MB of GDDR2 memory. For its price, it was a decent GPU, especially considering that this PC was built purely for fun. I managed to negotiate the price down from $3.51 to $2.93. The hard drive was 160 GB with a 7200 RPM spin speed. Despite its age, it was in a good condition when I bought it. And believe me, it was ancient. It looked like it had witnessed the British Empire in the 7th century. I got it for $1.76. The power supply was from some unknown brand. It had no labels, no branding, nothing. Just a note saying it was 350 watt. For some reason, I thought that would be enough. I wouldn't recommend doing this to anyone, and later I'll explain why. I bought it for $1.17. So in total, the whole build cost me around $15 at today's exchange rate. But back then, it was about $11, $12 since prices were lower. Once I put everything together, I decided to power it on. And to my surprise, it actually booted up. Since I didn't want the PC to look completely bare, I remember making a DIY case out of a cardboard box to give it some kind of enclosed and somewhat better looking appearance. I even tried generating an image of the PC using ChatGPT because after 6 years, I don't have any pictures of it left. But ChatGPT made it look way too polished. In reality, it was much uglier, though at least it still resembled a computer. After assembling the PC, I tested it with a few games. GTA San Andreas, Warface, which was pretty popular back then, CSGO, and even GTA 5. I clearly remember getting a stable 60 FPS in GTA San Andreas in medium setting. In Warface, running at 720p with low settings, it managed 60-70 FPS. CSGO was playable but rough. 40 FPS on very low settings at 720p. As for GTA 5, well, that was a disaster. Just 20 FPS on low settings, which was completely unplayable. But the thing is, I wouldn't say the PC was bad in itself. For its price, it was actually great, considering I built it for just $11 back in 2019. I didn't want to stop there. After realizing the PC had potential for watching YouTube, writing in Google Docs, or making simple slideshows on Google Slides, basically basic office work, I thought about buying a proper metal case for $6 and selling the PC for $40. Then I planned to use that $40 to build a better PC and sell it for even more, continuing the cycle. But just 3 days after having the PC at home, the power supply burned out. Like I said before, it was some no-name brand and I had no choice but to throw it in the trash. After that, my whole idea of flipping PCs, the profit was completely forgotten. Though in hindsight, I think it could still be a fun side hustle for students. So what did I actually gain from all this? Honestly, nothing, except for wasting money and time. But considering I was just 15 years old at the time and didn't have any major responsibilities like I do now, I just see it as a fun little experiment, nothing more. At least I gained some hands-on experience, and for the first time I learned that I should never cheap out on a power supply, no matter how budget your build is. Fast forward 2-3 years, and I eventually built a powerful PC with a solid GPU at the time, and RTX 3060 12GB. That's the PC I still use today for work and everything else. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed my story. If you did, feel free to share your own experience in the comments and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, take care.